guys, welcome back to Gone with the Whisk. Today I'm going to show you how to take a can of regular cinnamon rolls and upgrade it to be very, very tasty. Alright, so what we're going to do is first find your instructions and preheat the oven to whatever temperature it says. This brand says 400 degrees. So we're going to 400, press start. Okay. Then we're going to take a baking dish. A little less wobbly there. And we're going to open up two rolls. Alright, now we're just going to spread them out. This is a trick I learned working at a coffee shop, where I had to, our cinnamon rolls kept coming out stale or not last. They weren't very soft, and I had to figure out how to improve the recipe. So you bake these. Now we were making ours from scratch at the coffee shop, of course, but the same principle could be applied here. Okay, and now they're all, you kind of want these touching just to make them hold together and hold in our toppings in a minute. So this has a little thing of icing. We're going to hang on to that, set it aside. We'll probably use it. Now, the oven is preheating. So I'm just going to set this aside while we move on to our next step. To take a small pot here and about, I'd say about a cup of cream, heavy whipping cream. Just regular heavy whipping cream from the grocery store. Put this back in the fridge. Bubble. Okay, so we're going to heat this up. And that might be more than a cup. It's probably about a cup and a half. Really, you can add as much as you want. If you have 2 cans of cinnamon rolls, you want to make more of this. It just kind of depends what you're doing. After our cinnamon rolls bake, this cream sauce is going to be poured over the cinnamon rolls and soak into the bread. It makes them really moist and just soft and flavorful and creamy. It's so good. Right, so this is still heating up, but the oven is now preheated. So we're going to take our pan of cinnamon rolls and just pop them inside. Let's see, the instructions say 400 degrees for about 15 minutes. Just 13 to 17. We'll call it, halfway in the middle. Ooh, Alright, timer is on. Alright, so we're just waiting for this to heat up. Now, while it's heating up, I'm going to take some brown sugar. Get a scoop for it. I think I'm going to add about a cup. This is a little bit dry. I haven't used it in a while. But if you add a couple slices of white bread in here, it'll soften your brown sugar right up. Oops. You see this is getting bubbly. That's what we want. So I'm actually going to turn it down just a little bit because we don't want to like burn it or anything. And I'm going to add in that cup of brown sugar and give it a good stir. Okay, that's all dissolving in. Let's go ahead and add one more cup. We do want this to be a thicker sauce. Get in there. There we go. I guess that's about a cup and a half or so of cream. I didn't measure it, just kind of eyeballed it. And 2 cups of brown sugar. So we're going to let that cook just a little bit. Kind of a medium-high heat. We want it to get bubbly and thicken up. Pop our lid back on here. Now we're also going to take some spices. So I've got cinnamon, I've got nutmeg, and I've got cardamom. So we're going to stir that, make sure everything's pretty dissolved. And it seems to be dissolved all the way. Just want to keep stirring it. You don't want it to stick to the bottom and burn, because that turns out bad. I've had a huge pot of this before. One night when I was working super late, several nights when I was working super late, let's be honest, and I was doing a million things at once, and I just wondered, hey, what's that smell? But like there's nothing around me where I'm cooking, and finally I'd realize across the kitchen at work there was a pot of this cream sauce cooking that had been boiling, that was pretty much evaporated down into nothing. Oh, it was bad. It was a mess to clean up. So you definitely want to keep an eye on this. Sorry, goodness. In the springtime in Louisiana, and allergies are messing with my asthma. So if I start talking and talking, I just start coughing and coughing. Alright, so it's looking a bit thicker. So I'm going to take this off just a second and turn it down. So we want it to like simmer for a little bit. Let's let that burner cool off first. Okay, there we go. So now we're going to add in some cinnamon. I don't really have real measurements for this, just maybe about a teaspoon or 2. I always just kind of eyeball it till it looks right. I'd say about a teaspoon or 2. It already smells really good. Now we're going to add a little bit of nutmeg, maybe about half a teaspoon, quarter teaspoon, somewhere in there. Ooh, that smells really good too. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit of cardamom. Not a whole lot because it can overpower, but it's one of my favorite spices to add stuff like this. I'm just going to stir that in. And you can't smell this, but all three of these spices in here, along with the brown sugar and the cinnamon, the brown sugar and the cream, just smell so good. And again, that's cinnamon, nutmeg, and cardamom. You could also add pumpkin pie spice, because that's really cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, I think. There's no pumpkin in that. And that's a really great ratio mix to add to this. And it tastes great. It tastes like, it's the same mix they use in, pumpkin pie, apple pie, the same spice mix. Okay, and I may have made too much of this, but that's fine. I'm just going to turn that off. You know, I feel like it could be a little thicker. I'm tempted to add a little bit more brown sugar. So maybe I added more cream than I thought I did. Can't decide. Maybe that was about 2 cups of cream. So maybe I should add a little more. What do you think? Pan's still hot, so I just want to keep scraping it so it doesn't just burn anywhere, although I think it's probably fine for that. But I'm also just checking the consistency. I don't know, the way it drizzles off seems like it could be a little bit thicker. I might add about a half a cup more, just to be safe. Stir that in. It might still be hot enough to not even have to go back on the burner. Yeah, already it looks a bit thicker. So let's just keep stirring that till it's all dissolved. Our cinnamon rolls have 6 minutes left. Let's put this back on the heat. You just want to make sure that sugar does dissolve all the way and doesn't still stay granulated. So it add a crunch to our nice little cream sauce. We don't really want that, do we? Just need to make sure we don't burn it. And I would taste this, but it's mostly melted sugar. And if you've never worked with melted sugar, making caramel or anything, it will burn you. It doesn't look hot, but it can still do some damage. So be very careful with this. I mean, it's not like this isn't at temperatures of some, like a caramel would be bad if it got on you, but it's still going to be hot. Like, you don't want to touch it. think that looks good. And that looks a lot thicker than it was. So, I'm just gonna let this cool for like 4 more minutes while the oven finishes up the cinnamon rolls. In fact, I'm gonna give it a little peek and see how they look. They're getting there. So now we just wait, just give another stir. Just want to make sure it's smooth, there's no lumps, no big sugar granules, no clumps of spices. It's pretty good to me. Now we're just waiting for the oven to finish. Three more minutes. I'm drinking a glass of watermelon lemonade. Keep an eye out for that video coming very soon. It is really delicious. So while we wait for the cinnamon rolls to finish baking, what is your favorite breakfast pastry? Is it cinnamon rolls? Is it muffins or scones? Donuts or something else? Tell me in the comments. You know, I might have to look up some different recipes and see what I can make for y'all. I really love a good cinnamon roll or like a cheese Danish, a cream cheese Danish. Those are really good. And this is getting thicker as it cools. You can't quite tell probably on the camera. Looks a little bit dark on my screen over there, but it's definitely thickening up some. Oh, beep says we got 1 minute left. So let's go ahead and move this to the back. Look up any more crumbs we left. And get ready. 35 seconds. Yeah, adding a cream like this will definitely keep your cinnamon rolls very moist. However, if you eat them later, like if you don't eat your whole pan right away, it'll help keep them moist. You do have to heat them back up later though, and I'll explain that in a minute. Turn our timer off. Don't these look good? Cinnamon rolls, they look like they're baked through. Oops, hot. Whew. Very, very hot. Yep, they look like they're just baked perfect. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, and yes, I definitely added too much more cream than I thought I did, so I have a lot of this cream because I keep adding more sugar, but you can use this for later too. We're just gonna pour this on top. So good. Make sure the whole cinnamon rolls are covered. Bubbling a bit where the cream's hitting the hot glass pan, but that's fine. Okay. So we're gonna let that sit a moment. We want this cream to absorb into the bread. Like I was saying, this cream, this moisture will keep the cinnamon rolls moist if you decide to eat them the next day. However, you will have to heat them back up because a cinnamon roll is basically bread with a lot of butter in it. So if a cinnamon roll gets cold, that butter inside gets cold too. And when butter is cold, it's hard. And so here we have a mixture that is sugar. Okay? And when sugar is melted and warm, it gets soft. When sugar is cold, it's hard. Like think of a caramel. So when you have bread that is filled with butter and sugar, it's gonna be very soft and moist when it's warm. But when it's cold, it's gonna be, kind of hard. You're gonna think, oh, this is super stale. So just if you have some of these left over the next day, pop it in the microwave about 20 seconds, and it will be amazing. Because all that butter in the bread and all the sugar in the sauce will melt inside the bread and just be perfect. Okay. Ooh, and if you push down on that, you can see some of the sauce like inside. Yes, so that's what we want. We want this sauce deep inside this bread. So I'm actually gonna kind of pull these apart just a little bit, just to make room for more sauce to get in. And then I'm gonna go back and pour in some more. That looks so good. I'm probably just going to use this whole pan. That's way more than we need, but that's fine. It's going to keep them very, very moist. Okay, let's just scrape all of this caramelly cream sauce into the pan. Just kind of splash it from the edges back on here. You could do this if you have a big group of people coming. You could have several cans of cinnamon rolls on a big baking sheet and then just pour this over the top and just let it sit. I would say, maybe 10 minutes. The longer the better. Honestly, I used to do this at night and they would just sit overnight, but that is up to you. Look at all that sauce. Now I'm even gonna lift up the cinnamon rolls down here and let it sauce get underneath everything. This looks so messy and gooey, but trust me, it's gonna taste amazing. So I could turn the oven off. Alright, so we're gonna let this set just a bit, and then I will come back by and we will put our glaze on top. Yes, we're still going to add the frosting or the icing that came with the can of cinnamon rolls on top of this already delicious gooey mess. So pause now. Alright, so this is cooled for a little while. A lot of this sauce is absorbed in. It's really thickened up. You could keep letting it cool and just keep absorbing more and more into it. But I'm ready for a snack. I don't know about y'all. So I'm going to take a couple of these to eat on. But first, I'm just going to throw a little bit more of that cream on here. And if you make too much cream like I did, you definitely don't have to pour the whole thing in. You can put it in a little jar in the fridge and save it for next time. Or, add it to like some oatmeal or something. Anything you would, even coffee. It's just cream and sugar and some spices. Okay. So now I'm going to stop that. And I'm going to open up this little packet of icing that came with the cinnamon rolls. There we go. Didn't want to cut for a second. And we're just gonna drizzle that on top. It's still kind of warm, so we're just gonna kind of melt in with everything, and that's just fine. All right. Now I'm gonna take this, oops, separate it from the other ones. All right. Now take that and put on here. Just get a little bit of that sauce there with it. So gooey, it's a little bit messy, but it's really good. So I'm just gonna let these sit here and keep cooling. Normally, I would let these cool all the way and then make a powdered sugar frosting with some powdered sugar, milk, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of salt. But it already came with that, and this is just as good. Look at that. So you can still absorb a bit more in there. That tastes really good. The extra cinnamon and nutmeg and cardamom. The bread is super moist. A little drippy. If you can kind of see in at that one. Oh, that's just soaked in. It looks so good. And it tastes so good. Yeah, this is really good. Perfect dessert. Perfect breakfast. So, definitely just an easy way to amp up some pre-made cinnamon roll dough. Because really, we made that cream while it was all in the oven baking. The whole thing took less than 15 minutes. You just give it enough time to soak into the cinnamon rolls, and you're great. But yeah, I'm gonna eat one more bite of this because I just cannot stop. The center, that's always the best part. I'm gonna dip it in some of that sauce there. That is so good. All right, well, thank y'all for watching. Okay, so thank y'all so much. Like I said, let me know in the comments what your favorite breakfast pastry is. And again, like, share, subscribe. Hit that bell icon to get notified when I post new videos. If you have friends and family who like to bake and cook, give them my channel, share it with them. And as always, I'll see you next time. Thanks, y'all.